Run Lola run, run Lola run, run Lola run, run Lola run, run Lola run.
Representing India in the Olympics is what I have decided. Like she's ready.
Loop lapeta, loop lapeta, loop lapeta, loop lapeta.
Run Lola run, run Lola run, run Lola run, run Lola run.
भाई ये तेरे को edit करना पड़ेगा. He has said a few things that he shouldn't have.
So today we have with us the team of Looop Lapeta, Aakash Bhatia, the director, and actors Taapsee Pannu and Tahir Raj Bhasin. So thank you so much for joining us. Aakash, I want to start by asking you, everybody is talking about the way the film has been shot, the cinematography, the use of colors. So I want to ask you, what were the discussions regarding the look of the film?
These were not really a look-based discussion. These were an aesthetic-based discussion in terms of how we wanted to tell the story. You know, this story exists like it is a story that exists as a film. You know, so for us, the narrative choice is what defined the way we've shot it. Whether it's the use of colors, whether it's the use of the lensing, the camera work, and all of that. And something like this works if there's a suspension of disbelief, and all of that is in trying to make this world that exists inside the film. How do we make this world come alive? And these were some of the elements that we chose to bring that out.
You know, Taapsee, while watching the film, I was reminded of your film Game Over. Even in that film, your character has 3 chances, but to save her own life. So I want to ask you, when you are a part of such a screenplay where almost each scene is repeated, how do you balance or maintain that emotional graph of the character?
Because every scene, I mean, even though it's repeated, but when I reach that situation, my emotion is different, my mindset is different. And the fact that I have gone through it once before or twice before itself gives me a lot of information to play with. So hence it actually becomes like a new approach of going about it. So it's like you're doing job of 3 films in one film. Wow. It actually is like that. And you pointed out Game Over, and that was precisely the reason why I initially didn't want to do the film because of the similar kind of a setup of repeating it. But then this one just sounded so different, so funny, so today that I was like, okay, this I can't say no to it and let it go to someone else. Because then I will be lady like regretting it later on. So I had to take this up, even though it was about the loop again. But this one was it was a different world, and I get to perform 3 different shades, even though if it's the same film or the same start and end point.
You know, Tahir, you are currently the man of the moment. You had 83, you had Ye Kali Kali Aankhein, Ranjishi Sahi, and now Looop Lapeta. So just like how it happens in the film, would you like to relive these moments more than once?
I really wish I could learn more from Taapsee and manage to space these out so that they are periodic moments through the year. But you're absolutely right.
He's been doing that. ये start हुआ था 83 के अंदर, वहाँ loop जो इसका promotions का चला है, फिर उसके बाद रंजिशी सही और काली काली आंखें का loop चल रहा है, ये चौथा loop चल रहा है.
ये एक festival है जिसकी closing film है Looop Lapeta. So I really hope people come to the finale, the grand finale of this festival. और ये तापसी के festival की opening है, तो बहुत खास अवसर है ये, and I really hope people watch it.
The best thing about Looop Lapeta is the screenplay. It's very taut, and not even once you wonder when is the interval going to happen. And while you're watching the film on OTT nowadays, you don't even have to bother. But I want to ask you, can India ever do away with the interval culture?
we did when we started the film, we did have an interval point, but for me there's a point of where the audience needs to come down, think about and reflect about what they watched, and then come back on the journey. So I think for some films it works. So I think it's not like one size fits all and one should do away with the culture or not. I think movie watching in India is, again, like anywhere else in the world. It's when it's not OTT, when it's in the theater, it's a community experience, so there's a lot that goes into it. Do I like intervals in movies? I don't. But I mean, some films work with that. They have their clearly defined first and second half. Ours did not have that. So it works well that we don't have to break the film at any point. Yes, you need to give the audience the point to sort of reflect on what they're watching and process it a little bit and then come back and continue on the journey. So that's
I really like intervals. Yeah, what is wrong with intervals? I love intervals. That is, our film's interval was so good. That was one of my favorite moments in the interval.
You get time to go to the washroom, you get time to go and buy your popcorn. Otherwise, what happens is they use a song moment in the film or a moment that they choose.
Intervals का culture तब शुरू हुआ था, साढ़े 3-3 घंटे की फिल्में होती थी. तो अभी the films have become shorter. So I mean, yeah, जिसको करना है interval करना ही होगा आपको.
You know, Taapsee, we saw you do kickboxing in Naam Shabana, shooting in Sand Ki Aankh, you play hockey in Surma, you are an athlete in Rashmi Rocket and Loop Lapeta, and now you are playing cricket in Shabash Mithu. So which sport do you want next?
I don't want any sport anymore.
She's representing India in the Olympics is what I have decided. Like, she's ready.
I don't want to do. I want to feel more like an actor now. It's enough of these athletic films. Now, whichever athletic background film comes, even though if it's not the biopic or if not, it's not about the sport, I try to stay away from it because I'm genuinely tired of my training sessions. It's been 2 years. I've only been training for some of the other sport, and before that, in parts of some other sport. But last 2 years have really taken physical toll on me. So I now really have taken that a step back in terms of these sports background films. And I'm like, now I want to feel more like an actor and less like an athlete.
You can play a coach and all. They don't.
No, I will stay away from. No, I want
to
stay away.
You don't have to make others with all the experience of all the other sports. You can make others do it now.
Stay away from
for the Indian Olympic team.
Yes, all sports.
I'm going to stay away from any field, any playing arena. I'm going to stay out of it and away from it.
You know, Tahir, you have experienced two very different forms of love. The obsessed in Ye Kali Kali Aankhein and Ranjishi Sahi, and the caring one with Taapsee in Loop Lapeta. So I want to ask you, is love all about caring, or does it also need some amount of obsession as well?
I think any emotion, if you're pushing it to the extreme, can be toxic. So having a crush is great. Being in love with someone is great. And it can be flattering for the person who is being loved. But when you start to invade someone else's privacy or personal boundary and you get obsessed, quote unquote, to the extent where you start saying it's my way or the highway, and I will do anything in my power to make sure that you love me back. That gets a little toxic. But in the same breath, I would like to say the reason actors pick scripts of these natures is because it's so far removed from what should be happening in your own life and what should be happening in society that it allows you to live that drama. And over here, even though Satya is madly and truly deeply in love with Savi's character, it's his way of showing it that is often a little flawed and what gets them into all kinds of chaos, not once, but 3 times over.
You know, Aakash, I want to ask you, what are Tahir and Taapsee's greatest strengths as actors?
This will be a very long answer.
Weakness ke liye choti hai hamari.
Taapsee has a sense of the world that she comes from, and she brings a lot of her personal experiences into the way she approaches a character. I feel like a lot of actors do that. Because Taapsee is not a trained actor, she really relies a lot on her own experiences as a human being. And she tries to change her experiences. What I've noticed is she tries to change her experiences so the character can have something to do with it as well. And she also she really gives into the director. And, so I mean, with me, that was a great relationship thing. With Tahir, I think Tahir is very intuitive. He's a very smart person. He's a very, very intelligent guy. And, just to collaborate with somebody who's intuitive, but also addresses things on such a structured, layered way. Those are things that, work well for me as a director when you're getting to work with actors like these two.
Taapsee, you are now a producer as well. And I love the name of your production house. I wanted to ask you, even though writers are writing some great parts for you, do you feel turning a producer will allow you to explore more as an artist?
But these are two different characters. I'm imbibing actually being a producer and being an actor, and they're independent in a lot of ways. The only way they actually cross paths are when I decide to do a film, or I say, okay, no, this is not something that I want to associate with. That my sense of choosing and saying yes or no stays the same. But when I'm an actor, I approach it differently. When I'm a producer, I approach the process differently. So it's not going to affect my anything in my actor life. The fact that I've become a producer, I would want to do more films where I'm not an actor. Where I'm producer, I will prefer to do films where I'm not an actor.
Tahir, what are the similarities between you and the character of Satya?
I would say the sense of adventure, just the fact that he wants to give, he loves risk to a certain extent, and it's the thrill of the chase that he really loves. That would be something that's common between the two of us.
Before we sign off, I have a small request. I wanted to see who can say "Run Lola Run" quickly multiple times.
Loop Lapeta, Loop Lapeta, Loop Lapeta, Loop Lapeta, Loop Lapeta, Loop Lapeta,
Loop Lapeta, Loop Lapeta, Loop Lapeta. Yeah.
No, just "Run Lola Run." It's a tongue twister. If Tahir, you can start. If you can give it a try.
Run Lola Run, Run Lola Run, Run Lola Run, Run Lola Run.
भाई ये तेरे को edit करना पड़ेगा. He has said a few things that he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Aakash, you want to give it a shot?
No chance.
Tabsi.
Run Lola Run.
Run Lola Run, Run Lola Run, Run Lola Run, Run Lola Run, Run Lola Run. Yeah, I manage somewhere. Slow बोलोगे तो हो जाता है manage.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I've seen the film and I really enjoyed it, and I hope it does very well. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.